Hello everyone, I'm Norman Wahlberger and we're learning how to play Go. Today I want to talk about the tension between going for territory and going for influence when you're playing Go. These represent two kind of different styles of play, although actually in practice we tend to swing from one position to another, but there's some sense balancing kind of or competing kind of interests or approaches to the game. And to illustrate the ideas, I'm going to actually play a game, sort of make up a game, just play with myself here actually. And that'll give me a chance to talk a little bit about the flow of a game, show you maybe some different kind of patterns, and maybe we'll get a little bit more into fighting, etc. So I'm not sure which way the game will go. I will just sort of play moves which I think are good. And let's try to orient ourselves so that the two players, black and white, have a little bit different orientations. So let's suppose that black is influence oriented. Okay, so black is looking to play on a large scale and not so much focused on creating territory, while white will have a more conservative, more territory-oriented point of view. As represented already by these two initial moves, black plays at the 4-4 point, which is more influence-oriented, and white plays at the 3-3 point, which is more territory-oriented. Okay, so black's going to play here, and maybe let's say white will play here on the 3-4 point. So black is interested, in maybe making a bigger position in the top here. But let's say that black plays here, and let's suppose that white is territory oriented, and so black is going to play like this. And how will we have black play? Yeah, I think black will play low because this is also low. Okay, maybe white will play here. And maybe black will play, let's say over here. And white will jump out, black will play here. And here is a standard pattern in this kind of shape. White slides under here a little bit, and then white plays over here. Creating a nice position. It's a low position. It's a very territorial position, but it still has its head poking out here. Okay, black. What's black going to do? Black, what's the best move? Oh, I don't know. Let's say that black is going to play here. Okay, white. White is going to play maybe here. This is a good place. So now white can make an extension either on this side or on this side. Okay. Fair enough. Black will play here. Maybe white will jump out, looking maybe to invade here. And let's say that black plays here to limit the extent of this thing. And let's say white plays like this, and let's have black playing like this, sort of moving towards this stone here. And maybe white will take a big point on this side. And now, okay, we said black is going to be more oriented towards influence. So let's say maybe black will play here to sort of forcing white to more or less cover this cut here. Maybe black will play here, threatening to come in here. So maybe white will defend. And black will play here. Maybe white will defend again. And how about this? So now black is starting to try to make some kind of territory here. And maybe white will jump out here to prevent this a big thing happening. So maybe black will play here, here, and here. Now, if white plays here, white would like to play here, but if white plays here, then this move is hard to to deal with because white cannot capture it. If white tries to capture it like this, then this is Atari. White extends, and then black takes these stones. So that's a failure. So let's say white doesn't do that. White just plays like this. Okay. So white is making serious territory along the bottom here. That's definitely true. But on the other hand, white has created, black has created quite an impressive framework up here. So at this stage, even a territorial player will recognize that, okay, something has to be done about this big looming vast expanse that black has created. And now the question arises. So white is going to come in here, okay, but the question is how far? And typically, the deeper and the stronger the territory is, this is something that's called a moyo in Japan. It means a large-scale framework. So the bigger and the more strong this moyo is, the more conservative you have to play in terms of moving towards it. This is actually quite a strong framework. This is a very strong wall here. And this is pretty strong. White can't easily break through here. So the only approach that white has is coming through here. On the other hand, always in these kind of situations, one looks for weaknesses. Like where does black have some weaknesses? So over here, there's some kind of weakness because this stone here is a little bit far from here. So if white could get a stone here, maybe threaten to capture this stone here if black defended, that might be a possible strategy. So let's say that white is conservative. Well, let's say white goes here. Okay, so black now has kind of a decision to make. If black is going to defend, so one way would be right here. If black was going to attack, then black would want to separate this stone from these ones and play maybe here or here, or play some forcing moves that white is going to have to answer. So in this case, let's see what black can do. I think black could possibly play this, because this is still big enough that that it's not insignificant. This is a big chunk of territory. So suppose that white plays here again, sort of threatening to come in here, and now let's have white play here. Okay, so now white is playing or threatening to play in here, but also threatening to sort of swallow up this stone here. So this is now a little bit more challenging for black. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that black plays there because black wants to maintain this territory here. So now, if white plays here, this stone is looking quite forlorn. That's a kind of a reasonable play. I mean, I'm not saying it's the best play, but this is something that you could see in a game. And black has a weakness here that could easily be exploited soon. And also, black still has some weakness on this side that probably needs to worry about. And what about this stone? What should black do? So there's lots of things black wants to do. Black wants to go here. Black wants to defend this point here. Black wants to make sure that white doesn't smoothly link up here and creating a very big framework for white. So what is black going to do here? Let's have a look. So another thing that black might try to do is to sort of cut through this encircling wall. Let's say that black plays here. I'm going to play in a way that's sort of understandable. Okay, so white is going to say, all right, I'm going to prevent you from linking up here, and I'm going to swallow this guy. And suppose black plays here now, with an idea of defending this stone and preventing white from connecting here. Okay, so maybe black could play like this. It's also threatening coming in here, and And now let's have, whoop, it's black's turn. Yeah, okay. No, I'm not going to play there. Sorry, let me take that back. Let's have black play there. Okay, good. Now what? Maybe white feels that it's not so easy to play in here anymore. So maybe white will play like this. Okay, maybe black will take this point. Maybe white here. It's black's turn. Black might play there. How about white playing here? That's sort of forcing. And now maybe pushing here is a big move. Okay, so I'm not going to play more. I just want to give you a sense of it. I wanted to show you how this original thickness that black created, allowing white to crawl along here and definitely make territory along the base here, is compensated in this case by being able to create some central territory. Okay, so this is the main point, that the influence doesn't necessarily translate into territory immediately, but it can be translated into two different things. It can be used to create territory, like in this situation. But even better, it can be used to attack. Now, we didn't see that in this game because white came in relatively conservatively, and so black felt, okay, he could get away with defending. But if white had come in just 1 point earlier, then black would have been tempted to try to cut this thing off, to attack it more strongly, and then try to use this wall and this strength to attack and hopefully kill, or if not kill, at least create a pretty good advantage. So shall we quickly count to see who's ahead very quickly here? So this is a block of territory. Let's say it's 4 wide by 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, say 10. So it's maybe 40, 45 points. Maybe here there's 15 points. 45 plus 15 is 60. Maybe you have 10 points here. That's 70. Okay, so maybe black has 70 points. What do we have here? Here we have 25 points. Here we have 20 points, so there's maybe 45 points here, and white probably has 20 points here. That's 65, maybe another 5 points there. That's 70. So I think it's still a pretty close game. And remember that in Go, in an even game, black has to pay a komi. I haven't mentioned this before. This is actually an important point. So black clearly has an advantage, and to compensate for that, black has to give white some points, sort of to start off with. And usually these days it's 5.5 points, sometimes 6.5 points. It sort of depends on where the game is being played. Okay, so I would say that roughly this game is pretty close, still a pretty close and balanced game. So I hope that gives you some idea of the difference between going for territory and going for influence. But we still have yet to see some serious fighting.